A chilling warning from former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, now serving as deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, has sent shockwaves across the geopolitical landscape. Medvedev has revealed what he believes is Iran's most powerful weapon, and it's not nuclear. Shortly after a two-week pause in the US-Iran conflict was announced, the senior Kremlin ally made a striking statement on X. According to him, the real measure of power in this standoff isn't a bomb, but a choke point. He was referring to the fragile ceasefire between Washington and Tehran. While the outcome remains uncertain, Medvedev insists on one thing: Iran has already demonstrated its ultimate leverage, and it has a name: the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow passage is one of the most critical arteries in the global economy, with nearly one-fifth of the world's oil flowing through it. Control this corridor, and you don't just pressure your opponent, you send shockwaves through the entire world. Medvedev went even further, calling the strait Iran's proven weapon with what he described as limitless potential. The message from Moscow is clear: Iran may not need nuclear escalation when it already holds the power to disrupt global energy flows. His remarks came as Tehran agreed to allow safe passage of ships through the strait under a temporary truce framework involving Israel. On April 8, the first vessels were reported to have passed through the waterway again, according to maritime tracking data. The International Maritime Organization also confirmed efforts to ensure safe navigation during the pause in hostilities. However, Iran's earlier partial blockade, targeting vessels linked to the US, Israel, and their allies, had already shaken global markets. By early 2026, oil prices surged past $90 per barrel, triggering supply shortages in Asia and disrupting major shipping routes. And that's what makes this crisis so dangerous. The battlefield is no longer just land or air, it's a global lifeline. Meanwhile, Russia has welcomed the ceasefire. Kremlin officials stressed the importance of avoiding strikes on civilian and economic targets, calling for de-escalation and a return to diplomacy. They also expressed hope that direct talks between Iran and the United States would soon begin, shifting the conflict from military confrontation to negotiation. At the same time, US President Donald Trump appears to have taken a dramatic turn in tone. Just hours after issuing threats against Iran, Trump is now speaking of peace and reconstruction. In a post announcing the ceasefire, he described it as a big day for world peace, adding that both sides had had enough. He also suggested that the US would
I remind you that from the very outset we have consistently spoken about the urgent need to swiftly de-escalate this situation and guide it towards a peaceful resolution, to quickly shift everything onto the path of political and diplomatic engagement and negotiations. In this particular context, of course, considering the rather harsh statements that were made yesterday from various parties,
which have certainly generated a significant amount of emotional response across the globe.
We certainly received with satisfaction these reports regarding the truce, and we welcome the decision not to proceed further along the path of armed escalation. And especially not to launch strikes against civilian targets or against the economic infrastructure of the country of Iran. We believe that this is something that is very important, truly very important for everyone involved. We are hopeful that, just as it is currently being reported by various international media outlets, in the very near future direct contacts will be established between the Iranian and the American delegations, which will then allow for the peaceful discussions to continue even further forward in a productive and meaningful way for all. And each and every side will be able to truly assert its own interests, not by means of armed intervention, but rather at the negotiating table.
Help manage traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, calling it a key step toward stability and economic opportunity. The strait itself, just 34 kilometers wide at its narrowest point between Iran and Oman, remains one of the world's most vital shipping routes. It serves as the main gateway for a significant share of global oil and trade. During the conflict, it became a major flashpoint after Iran shut it down following US strikes. Now, new reports suggest Tehran may introduce a transit fee, potentially up to $2 million per ship, under a proposed law aimed at funding post-war reconstruction. If implemented, this would be an unprecedented move in modern maritime history. Such a policy could fundamentally reshape global shipping norms, raising concerns among energy-importing nations and Gulf economies that rely heavily on the route. In a critical development, Iran has also presented a 10-point proposal outlining its vision for the ceasefire. Central to this plan is regulated access to the strait, with passage coordinated under Iranian military supervision. Tehran argues this would give it both economic and strategic advantages at a time when global markets remain highly volatile. According to Iranian officials, the broader framework could include sanctions relief, continued nuclear activity, and even a potential U.S. military withdrawal from parts of the region. Diplomatic efforts, reportedly mediated by Pakistan, played a key role in bringing both sides to the brink of agreement, just hours before a potential escalation. There are also indications that Iran and Oman could jointly oversee transit operations and collect fees, marking a historic shift in control over one of the world's most important waterways. Still, the situation remains fragile. The ceasefire is temporary, tensions are high, and both sides continue to test the limits of the agreement. But Iran's message is unmistakable. Control of the Strait of Hormuz is no longer just a strategic objective. It's a reality Tehran is determined to secure, both on the battlefield and at the negotiating table.